So let's start this session, guys. So good evening, everyone. I hope you all are fine. So let me know in the comment section how are you all. Until then, up to 6:35, let other people join this free time. Let me know how are you all now. Okay, Prabhat's telling fine. Nice, nice, nice. You have survived pandemic, so that's nice. We will wait for 2 minutes more to let other people join, and then we will start. Okay, then let's get started. So let me tell you first thing about what is actually a Hacktoberfest. The Oktoberfest is a virtual month-long celebration of open source, which is organized by DigitalOcean with the support from partners and open source contributors, maintainers, and event organizers. We are also organizing some events and open source enthusiasts around the world. And this event is brought to you by HackSlash. So moving to the next slide. In this session, we are going to learn web development. There might be a question arising in your mind. Why to learn web development? What is its importance? Is there any future of it? For now, I would say be patient and be attentive in this whole session. It's going to be quite interesting. So I want everyone to please attend this session with a pen and a paper. Otherwise, it will something like you're watching a movie or web series. So everyone, please have a pen and a paper so that you can write the important points in this session. So meet the speakers. The two speakers will going to take this session. I am Harsh Anand and the other one is Pulkit Kumar Agarwal. So in this session, I'll be covering the basics of web development. And the only requirement before starting this session is your presence with full dedication. No prior knowledge is required for getting started with this session. So I hope you all will really enjoy this session. At the end of the session, you will have some great knowledge in web development. So look what are going to cover we in this session. So in the next slide, here is the list of things that we are going to cover in this session. So the very first thing we are going to cover is the importance of web development in real life. Why to learn web development? What is the importance? How it is affecting the world? And the next topic is web designer versus web developer. For now, I would only say by the word you will get that designer is someone who designs anything, and developer is someone who develops something. We will talk about it more in the later slides. And the next thing we are going to cover is front end versus back end development. So what is front end development? As the name suggests, front end means everything that you are seeing with your naked eye. In the website, all of the part that you are seeing with your naked eye is the front end part. And back end part is all the things that happen in the back end that you are not able to see, but it actually happens. For example, let's say when you click on a button, so the visual part is button only there. So this is a front end development. While working of button when you click submit is done through the backend web development. So let's move ahead. We are going to cover the very basic building blocks of web development, that is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We have some overview and we will try to deep dive into it. And in the last two sections, the JavaScript frameworks and advanced web development topics. We will not cover in so much detail, but we will make familiar to you that what these frameworks are and what are the advanced web development topics that you can learn after this session. So now let's learn about what is the importance of web development. So website development is a way to make people aware of the services and the products you are offering. So if you want to sell something or if you want to convey your idea to the others, the best way is to have a website. For selling purpose, it is nowadays best to have a website like Amazon, Flipkart, and etc. So it makes understand why your products are relevant. You can add everything about your product, why your product are relevant, and why even necessary for them to buy your use. You can add everything inside your website instead of telling every person the same. So the 3 point I am going to tell you about the importance of web development is the first. Web development helps to communicate with your visitors effectively. It improves our connectivity with the users. It proves our reliability. So if any company come until that tell its existence, how can we know that this company is not a fraud? If they have a website, we think, or many of the people can think that yeah, its company is reliable and not a fraud. So to sum up, it's pretty clear that website development plays a big role in successful business marketing. Because without it, it would be very difficult to leave your mark on a global level. So these are all the importance of web development. Now let's learn in the web development what actually the website. You already know how internet works. So while surfing on internet, you must have visited various websites. Some are so colorful, some are mostly user friendly, some are just static information providing website. And and it consists of multiple web pages. So website is like a book and each page of book refers here is the web page. So we can visit any website and web pages using some browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer. This is so outdated. So you might be wondering how these big and wonderful websites are built. So look at its foundation. That is a web page. For creating a web page, we just need to learn a simple language known as HTML. No prior knowledge is required or no anything. You can directly make a web page with knowing only HTML as a language. So up to here we have covered what is website. So in the next slide we are going to cover what is a web designer versus web developer, which is our second topic to be covered. So web designer and web developer both are so important. For now, look at the word designer versus developer. Designer means who can design the whole look of a website so that user loves it and spend more and more time over it. And developer means who can implement this design using languages like CSS, HTML, JavaScript to make interactive and beautiful looking website. And we need this so that user can explore our website more and more. So now let's deep dive into what is actually a designer, what is the work of designer, what is the work of developer. So in the next slide, we are going to cover what actually a web designer is. A web designer is a person that makes the website looks good. They mainly refers to the luxurious portion of a website as well as its usability. The main responsibility of the designer is to focus on style and overall feel of the website using different software like Photoshop, Figma, Canva, etc. to make the website more attractive. The if you remember in the previous session that was held on yesterday, it was entirely based on UI UX design, which was a part of a web designer. So if you have missed out the previous session, you can watch the recordings. A very good session was taken yesterday. So the main work of designer is to select the best fonts, layouts, colors, images, and all the other materials that suit best for user so that user have a good time over your website. If your website does not contain any images or any good looking font, so it is clear that user will not visit your website. They will directly back from your website and go to the other website. So a web designer has its own importance. So now let's learn about what a web developer is. So web developers are generally called programmers. They take the design created by web designers and convert it into a fully functioning website. They use different software and tools like JavaScript, jQuery, Node.js, etc. Their main aim is to build a smooth running and well functioning website. Web developers are responsible for the collaboration with UI designers, UX designers, which we have covered in the previous session. And web designers are the logical person. Just imagine a designer had designed a very beautiful website, but it is loading so slow. Its working is so slow. If let's say a slide, we have added a slide in the website, and slide is taking 3 or 4 seconds to load. So, is there any meaning of having a good design? No. If our website loads very slow, what is the use of a good designing? Obviously, user will have a bad experience there, and hence for a good website, designer and developer both are needed. So let's move to the next part. What is front end and back end development? So in the development part, there is a role that has been worked in collaboration to make well-looking and functioning website. The two development parts are the front end and back end development. So in the designer part, we have learned that designer should be UX designer, UI designer, graphics designer, but and also there in the development part, we have two parts. The first one is front end and the second one is back end development. As the name suggests, front end developer has the job to work on that part of website which is visible to user. For example, you ordered a mobile phone from Flipkart. The process from searching different mobile phones to finally purchasing it, which is obviously visible to user, is the front end work. Everything is done. So where is the back end part? The backend part helped you to authenticate you for your safe purchase. It has also helped to search the mobile which you are looking for. It also helped in you in your payment process. So just imagine how you have you have a good looking website, but its transaction process is not so safe. And suppose you lost your money in lakhs, what will you do? So from here you can imagine the work of a backend developer. Backend developer has a great work, and without backend, our website looks quite different. So now let's move towards the front some of the points of the front end development. Its main work is to design the website, the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and add some functionalities so that user can interact with us. And for instance, if you see, a front end developer role is the best in the market, as everyone looks the outer part of the world. No one knows and no one wants to know what is happening inside. So in this case, you can think that front end development is the best. So a front-end developer has only one general responsibility to ensure that website visitors can easily interact with the page. And that's it. And next, we are moving on the backend web development. Backend web development is also known as the server-side development. It is everything that a user don't see and contains behind the scene activities that occur in performing any action on a website. So when you perform any action on a website, all the part is done through the backend development. So in this case, I'll also take an example. Think when you submit a form on a website, you submit any sign-in form, sign-up form, any form in the website. What actually happens there? What you see is you just have filled some details and click on a submit button. But actually that doesn't do much. These are all the part of the front end. The main work here is a back end. In the back end, when you submit the form, the server authenticates you by some captcha. I think all of you know what is the captcha, and then it is connected to a database. Finally, if all looks good, and it sends data to database. So many all other backend processes happen in this season, in this scenario. So a backend work has its own importance. Now, up till here, we have covered the importance of backend development, importance of web development, web designers versus developers, front-end development versus backend developments, and now it's time to really learn how to develop a website. So to get started, we have only three basic languages that we will cover in this session. The first one is HTML, second CSS, and JavaScript. So the base of the website is HTML only for now. I'll show in the next slide or upcoming slide. The first website of the world was made only using HTML. It means we can make a website using only HTML. No CSS or JavaScript is needed for now. But as days are passing, websites are looking more and more beautiful and attracting some great functionality. Let's know something about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So what actually HTML is? HTML is the skeleton of a website. It contains all the written part, all the media such as images, videos, etc. It contains all the part. And now if I ask a question, tell me some website which contains other than some text and some media contents in it. No, you can't tell because every website has only some random text and some media. That is all about the HTML. So in the next slide, I will show by a good picture. So in this slide, we will learn HTML provides the basic structure of site, which is enhanced and modified by other technologies like CSS and JavaScript. The HTML is the skeleton of the body in which we can apply uh, some styles and some user interactivity. So CSS is used to control the presentation, formatting and layout and overall styling part of the website. And JavaScript is used to control the behavior of different elements. So now let's learn about this by a image. So as you are able to see, the first image is the HTML. So what actually HTML is? It is just a skeleton of a website. What if there is not HTML and we write a JavaScript and the CSS code? So by this, so see what HTML does. It gives the skeleton of our website. Although it is looking so ugly, but can you imagine how our body will look like without a skeleton? It's so meaningless. Now, after having a skeleton, we have added some styles to our website for better user experience. And also we will add some user interactivity through JavaScript so that user can interact with. So for example, whenever someone clicked on an element in an HTML file or a website, our element should perform some task. So these performance of task is done through the JavaScript, and the element which we will click, that element is created by HTML. And if you want to style that element, that's also awesome. So now I have some question that I can ask you. I want everyone to please write in the comment section. No matter what you write in the comment section, if you are wrong or right, no matter, just write in the comment section. So my first question is, write one importance of web development. What is the one importance of web development? Where web development can help you actually? So guys, please write in the comment section to let this session more interactive. Yeah, and Ripendra is right. Vidya also right. That's nice. To show online presence. Nice. Increase productivity and business interaction by making a website. That's nice. Many open source projects we can contribute to. That's also awesome. Marketing purpose. Very nice, guys. I want everyone to write, not just to make the more session interactive. Nice, nice. So my next question is, can you write a one difference between a designer and developer? Whatever comes in your mind, just write it. Only one difference between a designer and a developer. Yeah, Arsad is also right, providing some service worldwide. That is the great use of website. Yes, collect data and information from audience. That's nice, Prabhat. Yeah, yeah, Tejas. That's nice. This is what Amazon and Flipkart do. Developer is a logical person. Yes, nice. A designer makes the visual mockup. Nice, guys. Very nice answers, guys. So, moving to the next slide. So, let's learn the base language of HTML. The basic. Mm, So in previous slides, I also have told you what about HTML. So the HTML stands for hypertext and markup language. So what hypertext is? All the written part on your website, wherever website you see, all the written part, all the written text refers here as a hypertext. And markup means all the media such as images and videos you use in your website. So connecting all the text and media, we have a website ready. So this is all about HTML. So in the next slide, we'll learn some points about HTML. So it stands for hypertext markup language. It is a language that is understandable by browsers for rendering some useful texts and media such as images and videos. So whenever you write some code in a HTML file and whenever you search any website on a browser, the browser first takes that file and convert it into its own language and then render us. So hypertext, as I earlier told, stands for all the written part and markup stands for media. So combining text and media, our web page is ready. So HTML is basically a building block of web page. It's not that horrible programming language like C++ and Java. In those languages, we write some logic, but in HTML, we do not write any logic. We write something in the text that we tell browser how to display whatever a programmer has written in its code. It is a language that everyone can easily learn and get started with. Even a fifth standard student can also start with HTML. It's so easy language. So in the next slide, I'll show you what our world's first website look like, how our world's first website will look like. So this is the link of the first website, and let me tell you some history about HTML. So HTML was created by Sir Tim Berners-Lee in late 1991, but was officially released in 1995 as HTML 2.0, and at that time he created a first website of world. So you can visit anytime uh, whenever you are free. In the next slide, I'll show you how it will look like. To see how beautiful looking website is. So I'll share all the links that I am showing in this slide after this session. So please be patient. So this is how the first website looks. See how beautiful it is. This is how we have evolved from this ugly looking website to an Instagram like fancy website. Say Amazon like fancy website. And this was the first website that has only text in it. No markups, no images, no media, only the text. So you can also visit the website from your device. I'll provide you link. So let's move ahead. How our HTML code look like. So there might be arising a question in your mind that which software I should use to write HTML code. So where should you write the HTML code? Is there any code editor that we have to download? No. The simple answer is you have a simple text editor such as Notepad that is available in everyone's laptops, I guess, in which we type the HTML code and save the file with .html or .htm extension. Similar to that, whenever we save our PDF file with .pdf extension, we have to save HTML file with .html extension. For example, index.html. And the next slide, I'll show you how to save that file. So now you have written some code in your file and now you want to save and run on a browser. How will you do that? You have to first click on save. It will open a dialog box like this. And first you have to write some proper name such as index or anything you want. And after that you have to add some syntax, add some file extension such as .htm or .html and save your file as all types, all files you are as you are seeing and click save. Now when you open this file with your browser, it will run the HTML code. So this was all the process of saving a file. So we will cover more about it HTML in the CSS part. We have more good examples. So now only learn how to save the code, how to write the code, where to write the code, and many more. So there are two types of pages in HTML that I'll be showing this. So first one is a static page. That is ready-made pages with fixed page content. So the file you have saved just now, index.html, is an static file because all the things you have written by yourself and you are rendering it through a website. All of the files are written by yourself. And the next part is the dynamic website. What are the dynamic website? Dynamic website are generated on web server with file extensions such as .js, .php, .asp. No need to worry about this. Just think dynamic pages are created on a web server. You do not write by yourself such as you have done in static file extension. For example, if you visit the Wikipedia page, all the contents are written statically, but when you sign up in a Facebook like website, you will have your own profile dashboard that has been created by dynamically. Facebook has not created, not write your name and all other stuffs for your profile. It was created so dynamically. So for now, let's only learn there are only two types of HTML page: the static page and the dynamic page. In the next slide, we will see some of the tags and attributes. So what are the tags? First question is, what are the tags? So tag is something which have a opening and a closing bracket in which, in between which we write all of our code that is to be run on our website. So the first one is HTML tag. Uh, don't worry about where to come this. In the CSS part, we will cover more about it. So let's learn. So what is HTML tag? HTML tag refers that our all of our code is written inside HTML tag, and it refers that our file is a HTML file. It is the root of the HTML document, which is used to specify that the document is HTML. HTML tag has two uh, two parts. The first one is the header tag, and the another one is body tag. So let us imagine HTML tag as your whole body. So your body contains two parts: the header part, which is the head tag, and the body part, which is the body tag. So now I think you are not getting. So HTML is the root of the HTML document. Head is the header part, as like in your body, and body tag is the body part. Where and in the body part, we write all of our code. It is used to define the body of HTML document. We write all of our text, images, tables, list, etc. All the things in body tag. There are more tags. The title tag. Title tag is used to give the title of your web page. Whenever you make some PDF or anything, you give such title. In the same manner, you will give some title in your web page. So there is a heading tag. Heading tag is used to give some heading. A paragraph tag, which is used to define a paragraph content in HTML document. You can also write your heading in a paragraph tag, but why to do so? If we have a heading tag, the heading tag generally refers for a heading to write a heading inside it. To use that tag. So now the most important is that anchor tag. In the previous slides, I have shown you the world's first website. In the world's first website, you will see only there are many links, no images and no media were there. Only there are some links which on which whenever you click, it will redirect you to the desired location. So all these links are there by the use of anchor tag only. So anchor tag has its use since the starting of the HTML. And now the image tag, which is used to set your image in your web page. And there are many more tags. So to sum up, we have most important tags that are HTML tag, head tag, body tag, title tag, heading, paragraph, anchor, image, and many more. So what are now let's move to attributes. What are attributes? Attributes are something which are never used directly. You can write your HTML or head or body tag directly inside your document, but attributes are never used directly. They are always used inside a tag which is having some property. Why there is a use of attribute? So just imagine there are hundred of paragraph tag in your web page or in your .html file. So if you want to select any one heading for any other purpose, so how will you select that? If you select one paragraph tag, every paragraph tag is same. So how will you differ it? We will differ it by giving some ID to it, some name to it, and some other things to it. So there comes the use of attribute. So there are many attributes. ID and class attributes are mainly used to give the name of the web page. ID is used to give a normal name which is not to be repeated. It should be unique. Each HTML page has only one ID. Means you cannot have a same ID for all those. But in by the use of class, we can have same name for all the for many of the elements. In the CSS section, we will see all of this stuff. For now, only we learn some common attributes. That the height and width attribute are used to set the height and width of the element. Style attribute is used to give the styling of the element, and many more attributes are there to be done. So these were all the things about HTML, and we will learn more about it in the CSS part. Just keep this. So let's have a question time. So I'll ask some questions, and I want everyone to please write in the comment section. And in that time, I'll uh, see some comments. So first question is, what does the HTML stands for? Write the full form of HTML. I want everyone to write, please. Yes, Nirupand, right. Hypertext and markup language. Right, right. And that's the very basic questions that you can write. Nice, guys, nice. Nice. Aman, Shivam, Aditya. Nice. So the answer of my next question is visible to your screen only. You can also take help from there. My next question is, name some of the tags and attributes. Write at least any two tags and two attributes. You can write it. Please make this session so interactive. Anchor tag. Nice, Prabhat. Tags, HTML tag, image tag, nice, nice. And links, styles, and anchor. Yes, nice, nice. P tag, article tag. Nice, very nice. Text paragraph P tag. Nice, nice, very nice. So, can you tell me what is the extension of HTML file? Yes, just like a PDF file, the .pdf is the extension. So, what is the extension of HTML file? For help, I can tell there are two extensions that we can use. Yeah, obviously .html, everyone knows it, and there is another also, another short form of .html. Yeah, Aman, right, right. Shivam also right. Yeah, very nice. So guys, these were all of things about HTML. Now we will move to CSS, and you will feel all the HTML things in our CSS. That were only the basics. Now let's move toward the CSS. So CSS is basically the abbreviation of cascaded style sheets. It is simply a design language which is used to design a web page for making a presentable page from a dumb and ugly looking page. So you see the world's first website, how dumb and ugly it was looking. So if you add some styles over it, it will look so good. And in the slide you are also seeing the left part and the right part. Both of them contains the same information, but both of them have a different look. So if you are a user, I'll ask you which form of website will you want to prefer? So the left part or the right part? Obviously, everyone like to prefer the left part because it is having a good style. Although all the information are same, but it is having a good style in it. So applying a CSS is also a part, and all the CSS are done by the web, by the front end. It is a part of a front end development. See front end development, how it is so useful. So next, in the next slide, you'll see what actually the CSS. So CSS stands for a cascading style sheet, and it enables us to design our web page. We can write CSS code in our HTML page itself. We can also write CSS code separately in other file and link that file to HTML file. CSS enables us to write the code and use it anywhere in the project, wherever it requires. No matter where you write CSS, we can link that CSS file with our HTML. So these are all the uses of CSS, and CSS is very easy and to learn and understand, just like HTML. It's not like that. So now in the next slide, let us discuss different ways to write the CSS. So we can write CSS by three methods. First, inline CSS. Next, internal CSS, and finally the external CSS. So inline CSS is something in which you can apply CSS or apply styles to the element in the same line. I'll show you some code after that. Internal CSS means all of your CSS code will be inside your HTML file, and external CSS means you write some code in the other file with .css extension and then attach that file to HTML file. I'll show you how to attach that file to our HTML file in the next slide. First, learn what is the inline CSS. Inline CSS is something through which we can directly write CSS code inside a tag. The inside a tag only we can give the styling. And let me tell you one thing. The inline CSS has the highest priority over all the styling of CSS. So, for example, if you have a paragraph tag and you have defined styles by inline method and also by internal and external method, then which method will be applied? So inline CSS has the highest priority, and all of our styling will be applied through inline CSS only. So let us see the example of an inline CSS. So in this example, as you are seeing, there is a h1 tag which have a closing and an ending tag, a starting tag. A starting tag and closing tag both are same, but closing tag has an extra slash when, before the name of the tag. So in this h1, we have a style named property. Style is a CSS property which is used to give the styling, and the property of one of the property of a style is the color. So when we set color of blue and text align of center, so this is a heading that is written. So our color will be blue and our alignment of the text will be center. So this is all about the inline CSS in which our CSS and are written. CSS is written only inside a tag. So let us move to the internal CSS. So internal CSS is something which is written within the same HTML document under the style tag. So to write same HTML, we will write all the code of CSS. So these code should lie inside a tag, which is also the style tag. So all of our code will go into the style tag. And where does the style tag will lie? A style tag will be inside the heading tag, is also known as head tag. So in the next example, we will see the use of internal CSS. So see, all of our code inside all of our code goes inside a HTML tag, and HTML tag has two components. The first one is head tag and the second one is body tag. So inside head tag we have a style tag, and inside body tag whatever we will write will be visible in our web page. So in the body tag we have a heading which is written CSS is beautiful. So if we want to change the style of this heading, what we will do? First, we have to select that H1. So, how to select that heading? Just simply write the tag name in the style and with having a curly braces. So, inside curly braces, whatever we will write some property of CSS, it will be applied to our element. So we have set the color of h1 tag is to orange. It will change the color. So at previous I also told, what if we have a inline style in this? We have external internal style also. And now let's write internal inline CSS in it. So if we write by inline CSS that the color of h1 should be blue, and here in the internal CSS it is written color is orange. So which CSS is to be preferred? So obviously only the inline CSS will be preferred here, not the internals, because inline has the highest priority. Now let's learn more about the external CSS. What an external style sheet is. So external CSS is something which you can write all the CSS code inside your inside your CSS file. Another file is having a .css extension. So you can look of an entire website by changing just one file. So let us say you have hundreds of HTML files and all of them are linked with a single CSS file. So if you want to change the heading of all the file, so with the inline CSS, how hectic it will be. You have to go through all the hundred of pages and change the style of all the hundred. But with the CSS file, that is external CSS, we will change color only one time and then it will apply to all the other HTML pages which is linked to that CSS file. So this is a great use of external CSS, and we generally use external CSS because it makes our code look so beautiful and easier. So here is the example of external CSS. So in this example, it will be very clear about all the HTML and CSS stuffs. We have a first HTML tag, which is also a starting tag, and the below part it has a ending tag. Inside HTML there is a two major tags, the head tag and the body tag. The head body tag contains all the part that is visible in the website. So body tag has one heading, that is this is a heading, and P paragraph tag, that is a paragraph. Now if we want to change the style of H1 and P, we have three methods. First inline CSS we have done earlier. The next one, we write CSS inside a style tag and our style tag will lie inside the head tag. So now in the head tag, what we are doing is we are writing my style.css named file, and in that file we will write all of our CSS. So how to link that file with HTML? There is an attribute known as link tag, that is link. Link tag has an attribute rel equals style sheet and href. Href is mainly the reference to our file or path to our file. So see, this was the use of a attribute. The link was a tag and rel and href equal is a attribute. So attribute has its own use. So up till here we have learned how to connect that CSS file with this HTML. Now let us move to mystyle.css file in the next slide. So in, in this slide, we have a mystyle.css file in which we have selected body tag and changes the background color to light blue. And we have selected the H1 tag and changes the color to navy blue. And margin left is 20. Margin is something you give just like in your notebook. In your notebook, there is a page and having a 1/4 margin. So this is all about the margin. And we will more deep dive into CSS. So up till here, I think I'm clear about inline CSS, internal CSS, and external CSS. So now let's move to the CSS syntax. How I am writing this, selecting this body, and in the curly braces writing this. So there is a CSS syntax which you will learn. So those in this syntax, you will see there is a selector. So we were selecting H1, P, body, all of them are selector. And after that selector, we have a curly braces. And inside curly braces, we have a property and value. So property was color and value was blue. Property was font size, value was 12 pixel. And similarly, we can write it. So the main task is to how to select that selector. So just imagine in the previous slide, we have only one paragraph tag. Just imagine we have hundreds of paragraph tags and we want only one paragraph to change the color of only one paragraph tag. How will I do that? We have to select in some other manner. So how to say? So next slide, I'll tell you some of the CSS selectors, means how to select them. If we want to change only one paragraph tag in the list of 100, how can we do that? So a CSS selector selects the HTML elements that you want to style. There are many types of selectors No need to worry about all this. Just for now, remember this: the simple selector, combinator selector, pseudo class selector, pseudo element selector, and attribute selector. We will learn only about the first one, that is the simple selector. Simple selector selects the elements based on the name, ID, and classes. This is the correct place where our ID and classes that we have learned in the HTML part we will use here. So see what the ID selector is. So the ID selector uses the ID attribute of a HTML element. We have an element, let us say a paragraph tag. So inside a paragraph tag, there is a ID, which is the name of the attribute. And whatever we will give the name of the ID will be the fixed name to that element. So ID of the elements should be unique within the page. Inside a simple page, inside a web page, we cannot have same ID name uh, to two or more other elements. ID should be unique. So to select an element with a specific ID. So what if I have given some ID such as P paragraph tag and ID equals something such as ID equals para1. So how will I get that ID? In the case of tag, we were writing directly a body tag, we were selecting directly h1 tag, directly p1 tag. But how to select that? We will select that by a hashtag character. In the next slide, I'll show you how to do that. So see, there is a body tag, and inside a body tag, we have a paragraph with ID attribute, and ID attribute is naming as para1. So how to select that para1? If we want to select a paragraph, we will directly write P and a curly braces, our paragraph is selected. So to select that ID, we have to write a hashtag sign first and then para1, and then we are able to select it. And all the processes rest are same. We have a curly braces, we have some property and value. Text align is a property, center is a value. So text align center is the alignment of our text to center. And the next color is a property and red is a value. So this is the ID selector. So the next one is the class selector. Let me tell you one difference with an ID selector. So ID selector was there because if we want to select only one particular element, then we use ID. But what if we want to select 5 paragraphs in the list of 100? So to select that 5 paragraph, we will have a class property. So we will name all the 5 with the same class and select that class only. So, and to select the ID, we have used hashtag sign. So to select the class, what should we use? We use a period or a dot character. So in the next slide, I'll show you how to do that. So, so see, there is a body tag in which one h1 is given, one p is given. H1 is just a heading and p is given as a paragraph. We have set class attribute and named the center. So now, if we want to apply the same CSS to H1 and same CSS to P, we have to manually write 2 times the same code. By selecting first H1, we will give some property. By selecting P, we will give some property. So if we want to have a less number of code, we have given a class to it of center. And we will select that center tag with dot center and then a curly braces, and we will have some property and value. Text align is a property and center is a value, and color is a property, red is a and red is a value. So remember, ID of an element must be unique within a page. So ID selector is used to select one unique element, but class selector can be used to select multiple elements. So up till here we have learned how to write the code, what is the syntax, how to select that code, different ways to write the CSS, and the next part we are going to learn the box model. What is the box model? So box model is something, let me tell you, you just have created a box with a pen. So inside that box, you will leave some spaces after it, so to write some of the good point. So whatever you leave the spaces inside the box is the padding, and whatever you left spaces outside the box is the margin, and the border of the box is defined but how you have made your box. So margin is the outer space, padding is the inner space, border is just simply a border, and all of your content goes inside a content as you are able to see in your screen. So by the in the next slide, I have a great example that that can make you familiar with all the box models. So how to set or make the box model inside HTML. So first, let us define that div is a tag which is present inside a body tag. So we have selected a div tag and applied some property. So I have told you width and border. Width is the width of the selected element. Border defines the 15 pixel. Border should be a 15 pixels, and solid means just solid border. Border of different type: dotted border, hash border, and anything. And border color should be green. So see, there is a padding of 50 pixels. So you can really imagine padding is the inside area which is left. We have left 50 pixel all inside the element. So our content is looking so good. And margin you cannot see here, but margin, let me tell you, margin is something which is the space left uh, after the border. So this was all about the CSS box model and all about the CSS. So far we have learned more about CSS, all of its syntaxes, how to select, where to write CSS code, the extension of CSS code, and the very important, the box model. So now this is a time to ask some questions if we have got anything or not. So just write in the comment section, everyone. So in the first question, I'll ask only what is the full form of CSS? What CSS stands for? As Nripendra, cascading styles. It's nice, nice, nice. Hmm. Sazzle cascading styles in nice. Cascading styles in. Yeah, right, right, right. Everyone, right. So do not think about how to write the code from where I have written that also that horrible. Although that code was not horrible, but do not worry. You have to learn here how to do that. What is the process is what the process are running behind. Do not try to learn all the code just now. In the next JavaScript part also, you might feel that how and from where these are code and we have shown to you. Do not worry about this. You have to just learn how JavaScript is using, how CSS is using, and nothing else. After this session, you can explore more about it. Just simply learn how to use. So I think all of you have answered. My next question is, what are the different ways to write CSS? So for help, I can there are three different ways to write the CSS. So what are those? Can you tell me? Yeah, Nripendra, right. Nripendra, the winner of this session. He has answered all the questions very quickly. Nice, nice. Inline internal. Yeah, absolutely right. Right, right. So my next question is, what are the different types of selectors? That's the very basic one that I have used. What are the basic types of selectors that I have used? Yeah, H and P, we can select a heading tag or paragraph tag. Yeah. Shivani, right. ID and classes are the very basic selector. We can also select by tag name. That is also fine. Depends. Yeah, ID and class are fine. These are the basic selectors. It's nice. Vishal Shivam, right. Element selector, class selector. Nice. ID and classes. Very nice. So my next question is, can I use the same ID name for two or more different elements? Can I give the same ID name for two or more different elements in the same file? Yeah, absolutely. Right, guys. Yeah, depends like ID code to be unique within a page. For more than two or more pages, we have ID same no matter, but within the same page, we should have a same ID name. And classes we can give any number of elements. So my next question is, and the last question of this CSS session is, what are the main components of a box model? Means in the box model, can tell you. Yeah. Nripendra, right. Nripendra is the winner of this session. I think he has answered all the questions very fastly. Nice. Modern, Shweta, Shivani, all of them are right. This was all about the HTML, CSS, and now we will learn about JavaScript. So Pulkit will uh, take this session afterwards for JavaScript. So Pulkit, it's over to you. You can take.
Hello,
Yeah, Pulkit, you are audible.
screen is visible.
Yeah, visible. The JavaScript page is open.
Hello everyone. As far we have discussed all the designing part of our website, now it's time to make our website user interactive. Uh, we can use JavaScript to do so. JavaScript is commonly used for creating web pages. It allows us to add dynamic behavior to the web page and add special effects to the web page. On websites, it is mainly used for validation purposes. JavaScript help us to execute complex actions and also enable interactions of website with user. Using JavaScript, it is also possible to load the content in the document without reloading the page in the real time. JavaScript is just a simple language. Now, let me tell you some interesting facts about JavaScript. JavaScript was created by Braden is in just 10 days. Uh, the original name of JS was Mocha, but after that it was changed to LiveScript and finally to JavaScript. If you are thinking JavaScript has something similar with Java, then immediately stop thinking this. Both are entirely different languages which do not have any connections so far, but and it does not mean that they both are same. At the time when JavaScript was created, Java was so famous, and hence the creators of the they should keep the new language name something similar to Java. So they keep its name to JavaScript, and similar language to the JavaScript was also developed by Microsoft named JScript. So, JavaScript is a text-based programming language used both on the client side and the server side that allows you to make web pages interactive, where HTML and CSS are languages that give structure and style to the web pages. JavaScript gives web pages and interactive elements that encourage the user. Common examples of JavaScript that you might use every day include search box on the Amazon, or or refreshing of your Instagram feed, or mm, using the news recap video embedded on the New York Times or on the YouTube. So JavaScript is mainly used for web-based applications and web browser. JavaScript can also be used for creating some mobile applications or web apps and building web servers and or developing any server-side applications. And JavaScript can also be used for game development. So why should we use JavaScript over other programming languages? So we use JavaScript because it is very most popular language, yeah, and it is simple to learn. And aside from unlimited possibilities, there are many reasons for web developers to use JavaScript or other programming languages, because JavaScript is only programming language which is native to web browser, which can be directly executed on the web browser. And now let's see how we can add JavaScript code into our HTML file. So you can add JavaScript code in an HTML document by using HTML tag, which is script, and that wraps around the JavaScript code. The script tag can be placed in the head section of your HTML or in the body section, depending on where you want to use JavaScript to load. Okay. So to insert the JavaScript code inside our HTML, we can use the script tag. Uh, uh, as you know, all the HTML tags have opening and a closing tag. So script also have an opening and a closing tag. So and in between these two tags, JavaScript is written. So here is an example of how we can write the JavaScript code. See, we have written JavaScript code between these two script tags, opening and closing script tag. Uh, See, let me show you how an example of how we can use the script tag in HTML file. So here you can see a tree-like structure. So we have HTML, and inside that HTML tag we have a body tag, and inside body tag we have script tag. So inside script tag we can write all our HTML codes. So don't worry about this document write method. I will tell you about it later. So now let's talk about the external JavaScript. So we can embed or we can add JavaScript to our HTML code in two methods. One is internally or other is external. So I have already shown you how can we add internally. So now for the external, let me show you how can we add JavaScript externally. So JavaScript files often contain uh, code for the which we can render on different web pages. So external JavaScript can be added to HTML file with the script tag, and the JavaScript file is attached to the SRC attribute. We can write script tag anywhere inside our HTML tag if we write our body about the body tag. So then script will load first, and then the content in the body will load. And if we write script tag after the body tag, then the content of body will load first, and the script will load after that. So both of them has use cases in different scenarios. See, just like we have attached our CSS file in the HTML, we will also do the same in the case of JavaScript. So to insert JavaScript, first of all, we have to save the JavaScript with the .js extension. For example, myscript.js, and then we have to create a script tag inside the HTML tag and give the source of our file in the src attribute as shown in the slide. So now let's talk about what is HTML DOM. So first of all, let me tell what is DOM. So the document object model is a platform interface that allows programs and scripts to dynamically access and update the content, structure, or stylings of the document in the runtime. So the DOM standard is separated into three different parts: core DOM, XML DOM, and HTML DOM. The HTML uh, DOM is uh, when web page is loaded, the browser contains a document object model of the page. The HTML DOM model is constructed as a tree of objects. With the HTML DOM, JavaScript can access and change all the elements of an HTML document. So now let's learn about the document object model of a web page. The parent of our web page is known as document. It has a root element known as HTML tag, and all of our code goes inside the HTML tag. HTML tag is basically used to define that our file is an HTML file. Inside the HTML tag, we have two major tags named head and body tag. All the linking, styling, scripting, or etc. Are written inside the head tag, and all the visible content that we see on the web page is written inside the body tag. We can also write our visible content in the head tag, but it is taken as convention that we just write everything, uh, all the visible content in the body tag. So now let's learn how to select elements inside the JavaScript to modify that element. So here we can see that mm, we can select element using JavaScript with these tags. We can use ID or tag name or name or class. So to find an element in the JavaScript with the ID, mm, we have to use document.get element by ID method, and you can see others too. Mm, See, now we have the write function, write method. The write method writes HTML expression or JavaScript code to a document. The write method is mostly used for testing. If it is used after an HTML document is fully loaded, it will delete all the existing HTML. And so when this method is not used for testing, it is often used to write some text to an output stream, which is opened by document.open method. There's one more method which is document.writeLn method, which is very similar to the write, but it only adds a new line character after each statement. So the HTML DOM allows JavaScript to change the content of HTML elements. The easiest way to modify content of an HTML element is by using the inner HTML property. To change the content of an HTML element, use this syntax. First of all, we have to find the element which we can find by document.get element by ID, or we can use other things like other methods like classes or tag names. So, to change the HTML code inside that, we just have to write that in this example we have x as an element, so x dot inner HTML, and we have to give the content which we want to change, which we want to write. So similarly we can also change style of HTML element. To change the style of an HTML element, we use the syntax in which we use first of all we find the element by using document.get element by ID or get element by classes. Then we have to use the style tag. So after that element we use style, and then after any property which we want to change, like in this example we are changing the color. So element dot style dot color and equals to whichever the color we want after that. So now move on to the uh, jQuery.
Hello, Pulkit.
Hello.
Let's have some questions.
Okay.
So I'll ask some question on JavaScript, whatever you have learned. So JavaScript. So please do not worry about how all these codes were coming from. You just have to think and learn how to do that. Everything in JavaScript. JavaScript enables everything about it. So let's have a question. My first question is write something about JavaScript in one line. In up to 10 to 15 minutes, you have learned many things about JavaScript. So I want only one line about JavaScript that you can write. Guys, everyone please write what anything about one line of JavaScript. Bring functionality to your code. Nice, Agile, nice. When the JavaScript enacts interaction within the website. That's nice. Guys, whatever comes in your mind, Just write it. And that's nice. Shivani. JavaScript provide brain to the web. That's awesome. Anything about JavaScript you can just write. So moving towards the next question. Uh, just like HTML file, we have .html extension and CSS file have .css extension. What should be the extension of JavaScript file? Can you write? Yes, nice, nice. Nice, nice, nice. Means you have learned something in this way. So my next question, can you tell me different ways to find HTML elements inside JavaScript? Means how can we find some HTML documents that we use in CSS also? We have some idea in classes. So in JavaScript, how can we find that HTML elements? Nice. Through DOM we can find yes ID, name, classes, and one more. So what is one more? Depend. They, they can also find through data attribute or references who has written one more. One more can be of data attribute. So which we can find. Good changes. Nice, nice. So you have thought about many events in a JavaScript. You can put some of that. So can you tell me any one event that I can put on a button by JavaScript? Any one event. By seeing a button, what you will do first? That is the event. No one. I think question is not clear. So whenever you see a button, you either click it. So click is that event. We can add that event functionality to the JavaScript. Click event, that is a double click. So nice. So Pulkit, you can continue to jQuery. You have a very good response.
So, what is jQuery? jQuery is a small, lightweight, and fast JavaScript library. It is a cross-platform and supports different type of browser. It is also referred as write less, do more because it takes a lot of common tasks that require many lines of JavaScript code to accomplish and binds them into methods that can be called with a single line of code. It is also very useful to simply a lot of complicated things from JavaScript like Ajax calls and DOM manipulations. So why jQuery is used? Sometimes a question can arise that what is need of jQuery or what difference it make on bringing jQuery instead of Ajax or JavaScript. So let me tell you the answer of this question. JavaScript is very fast and extensible. It facilitates the user to write UI related functions uh, or the codes in the minimum possible lines. It improves the performance of an application. It is compatible to the browser. Mm, yes. And the browser compatible web applications can be developed using the jQuery very easily, and it uses mostly new features of the web browsers. So you can say that out of a lot of JavaScript framework, jQuery is one of the most popular and the most extendable framework. Many of the biggest companies on the web uses jQuery. Some of these companies are like Microsoft, Google, IBM, or Netflix. So this is the syntax of jQuery. So here you can see that first of all we write a dollar sign, then in the parenthesis we write the selector. The dollar sign is just to define that it is an jQuery function or jQuery method, and then we use a selector which is a query or which will find the an HTML element. Then we write the action. Action can be anything. For example, we can if we select a button, then we can add an action as click, or if we select form, then uh, an action can be like on submit action. So this is an example. So here this code will hide all the p tag elements. So So here you can see some advanced web topics, programming topics like HTML canvas, or these are some APIs which you can work on, or the HTML servers and events. Now let me show you the job trends of full stack web developer. So this is an old, little bit old data, but it's okay. You can see how it is, how the job trends for the full stack web developers is extending, so increasing. Mm. I hope you all have learned something and utilize your time for a good reason. Now, let me know if you have any questions arising in your mind. You can ask directly by opening your mic, or you can comment your question in the chat section.
So guys, no more questions on jQuery because I need not to learn jQuery for now. So, because jQuery is told to you because to get you familiar with some frameworks. What are the JavaScript frameworks? No need to learn jQuery for as a beginner. So if you guys have any questions, do let me know in the chat sections. Thank you for a great time.